I've been working as a video editor and a thumbnail artist for almost 5 years now. I've created hundreds of YouTube thumbnails totaling millions of views. I've created good thumbnails and I've created terrible thumbnails. And I've created one viral thumbnail that has pulled in over 1.5 million views to date. And in this video, I'm going to be sharing the 5 lessons that I learned and how these lessons will help you take better photos. No matter how good your thumbnail is, if the content behind it is empty, it will leave your viewer disappointed. And depending on how hard you've been clickbaiting, maybe even tricked. YouTube, just like being a photographer, is an iterative game. You don't want people to just look at one of your videos once. Just like as a photographer, you don't want somebody to just look at one of your photos only once. If at first glance you're promising something, it better be there. Meeting those expectations is good. Exceeding those expectations is even better. But if you're constantly over-promising and under-delivering, you will turn your viewers away. The interaction between a thumbnail and a video is its own little story. It's setup and it's punchline. You're introducing a conflict and then resolving that conflict. How does this apply to photography? Well, if you have leading lines in your photo, they better be leading somewhere. If you have a frame, it better be framing your subject. Are you shooting a reflection? It better be reflecting something good. Respect your viewers and provide value. Don't try to trick people, because short-term gain will lead to long-term pain. Lesson 2. Focus on the subject. When you're putting together a thumbnail, it can be very tempting to absolutely assault your viewer with visual elements. Red arrows, the brightest colors you've ever seen, throw Mr. Beast in the corner. But very often, less is more. I try to stick to a maximum of 3 elements in my thumbnails. One element is even better if you can get away with it, but it has to be really compelling. I usually try to include a face. People make for interesting subjects. People like looking at people. And all of this translates to photography as well. A busy photo is usually a bad photo. Keep it simple, isolate your subject, clean up those edges of your frame, maybe limit your color palette, and don't forget about contrast. This one is so important that I'm giving it its own section. Aside from including a subject, I think contrast is the most important visual principle. And this one applies on 2 different levels. On the macro level, this means you want to stand out. If everybody around you is creating the same thumbnails, maybe do something else. Deviate from the formula a little bit. You can apply some tricks that you've seen other people do in different niches to your videos in this niche. If they work somewhere else, they'll work here. Is everybody shooting street photography with a 35mm lens? Do something different. Maybe break out a 200mm. This will make your photos have a unique quality that other people just don't have. Who knows, you might be the first wildlife photographer that shoots exclusively on a fisheye lens. That could be fun. On a micro level, you want to have high contrast in your thumbnails. And it doesn't hurt in your photos either. We as humans evolved the whites of our eyes so somebody else can see what we are looking at. You can pick out somebody's eyes from really far away. And this is because of the contrast between the whites and your pupils. And we as designers and photographers can hijack this little evolutionary trick by having high contrast in our images, making them extra eye-catching. For my thumbnails, it looks like this. I usually like to include a color border, then throw some vignetting over my background image, and finally add a white outline around my subject, separating it from the background a little bit more. When taking photos, it comes down to light. Either you have to make sure the light on your subject is good, or you can have no light on your subject at all, creating a silhouette. And that brings me to my next lesson, what I like to call the horror movie principle. Horror movies build suspense by hiding the monster from you, usually until Act 3. Before that, all you get is glimpses and hints and sounds. Once you see the monster, it loses its scariness. When applied to thumbnails, this means don't give the game away right away. You want to spark interest. You want to entice the viewer, but you don't want to give away the conclusion, because why would they click? You want to open a mental loop that they feel the intense need to close by clicking on the video. When it comes to taking photos, it means not everything needs to be in focus. You can make use of shallow depth of field, motion blur, and silhouetting to hide unnecessary details and heighten the visual interest of your photos. And finally, seizing the moment. My most viral thumbnail to date, the one currently sitting at over 1.5 million views, was the first thumbnail I made back in 2018 when I started working for this YouTube channel. This channel mostly talks about the esports side of the game Counter-Strike, among a few other things. And just a few days after I got hired, one of the craziest scandals in that game happened. A professional player got caught cheating on stage at a tournament in the middle of a game, and the admins had to pull away his hands from his keyboard to stop him from deleting his cheating software, which he had sneakily renamed to Word.exe. Since then, none of my thumbnails have gotten even close to that amount of viewers. And all because that was the right circumstances coming together at the right time. In great photography, street photography especially, operates in the same way. The greatest photographs are brief moments captured by your camera before they are lost to time forever. So when you're out, have your camera ready, because those moments could happen 2 days after you start. I hope you got some value out of this video and you're inspired to go out and take some photos. And I'll see you on the next one.